introductions. A lot of you guys know me. I'm Roxana, Khoshandish, and in my personal and professional life, I wear many hats throughout the day. And tonight, my hat is I'm the MC for this presentation. Yes, thank you for this seminar. All right, thank you for coming again. And so the goal, on behalf of myself and all the presenters, thanks for coming. And the goal for tonight is to give you some information, some tools that you can help when you're deciding to downsize in 3 to 5 years, not obviously immediately, but in the next few years. Gives you enough information, you can make the right decisions. And kudos to you for taking the time to be here and learning about all this. So we have wonderful presenters today, experts and leaders in their fields, that they're going to cover a few things for us. So we're already behind about 20 minutes, but that's okay. The food was a little bit late. So Brian is going to be presenting from the real estate perspective of downsizing. Then we have Manzar, Sharifi, and Sam Azizi from RBC that are going to talk about investment and the wealth advisor and the investment advisor, that they're going to talk about what to do with now that you downsize, what to do with that equity, what are your investment options. And we also have Cherry Chan, who is the real estate tax specialist, tax expert, who's going to talk about the tax implications and how to save taxes. And then some Q&A and socializing. You're ready to go? Yes. So, okay. So first of all, for those that don't know, so Brian is my husband. So we met each other back in Ryerson many, many, many years ago. This year was going to be 27 years that we're married. Many, many years ago. Yeah. What did you say? Galaxy far, far away. Yes, that's when we met. Almost 30 years ago, and married for 27 almost. And yeah, so we started in engineering, corporate. He was in corporate for about 12 years or so, until he decided to switch to real estate. And I was with an engineer and program manager at the Honeywell Aerospace for 20 years, when I decided in 2016 that was it for me, and I joined his business. So I'm the should I say I'm the backbone? I don't know. No, I'm behind the scenes. I'm behind the scenes. And yeah, so I'd like to invite you guys to listen in to all our wonderful presenters. And the first one is Brian. So Brian, again, so I gave you a little bit of a background. He started we live and work in Mississauga since 1999. Our children are born and raised here. And he started his real estate career in 2010. And we are with RE/MAX Hallmark, which is it is the largest RE/MAX globally. We had the highest number of sales last year. We have over 40 offices from Ottawa to London, Ontario, over 2,000 agents. So one of the reasons that we joined Hallmark is because of these connection with all the agents from different parts of the province, that we can help people relocate and do all wonderful things. So yeah, help me welcome Brian to the mic. And here's your mic. Let me put it on for you.
It's slippery. That's why I didn't want to eat. It's slippery.
Do it to your
tie. Okay.
Okay. Let me before you break it. Let me, please.
That's why she's everything.
It is a little tedious. Okay. All right. You're good?
Yeah, I'm also good. Okay.
So here.
Thank you, everyone. I personally like the part Cherry is going to present, to save taxes. That's the best part. I know everybody want to get there. That would be the best part. Let's dive right into it. Well, where did I go?
Okay. Hold on. Sorry.
That's why we saved the best for the last.
Yes, I know. Who doesn't want?
You just click this, and that's
okay.
it.
Oh, navigating through downsizings. Next. Okay. This is not going to be like a university lecture, guys. You got to help me out. So just got to feed from you as well. What do you guys think when somebody says downsize? Any volunteer? When somebody says downsizing, what comes to mind? Small house? Uh-huh.
the age.
Okay.
And when they're moving on, then we kind of redefine our lives or reanalyze. And a lot of it has to do with our dwelling and our possessions, and kind of taking that realization where it's time to throw it out. Basically, have a garage sale.
Right, right.
Away, and then just kind of look at what your options are, where the kids can still be included. I want a bedroom for them, right? But I still want my own independence and minimize.
Right.
That's the
Right.
stage of life that it's gotten to. Basically, that's how I look at it.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Danny.
To me, downsizing, what I used to think back in the old days, is you know, downsize in square footage for one. So you wanted something smaller because you don't need all that space because everybody's gone. And put money in your pocket when you downsize. Now today, as we know, sometimes the smaller homes are not that cheap anymore. So, you know, but my idea of downsizing is actually putting more money in your pocket to live and do what you want to do.
Exactly.
And still have a place to sleep and have what you need, which should be less than what you used to do.
Yeah, precisely. Melinda.
To me, it also has to do with as we age, some of us faster than others, getting rid of the stairs.
There we go. Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
going to a bungalow, something that doesn't have much.
More suitable.
More suitable, more distance. Yeah, these are all different aspects of it. Yeah. So a lot of time people think that that's a negative thing. Oh my God, I'm downsizing. There's nothing negative about it. It's just another phase of life, and it's just such a stigmatized word that some people don't even want. Oh my God,
They replace
downsizing.
it now to right sizing. I'm like, no,
Right
it's
size-
downsizing.
no.
It's not right sizing.
Let me tell you a story. About 10 years ago, I got called in from our neighbors across the street, not here in previous home, Sal, Italian fellow, and he said, and he called me and said, Guy, can you come and sell my home? I said, sure. I come and see Lucy and him. I went to the table, and Sal was frowning like a kid in a Christmas day without toy. Honestly, it's really sad. And Lucy does all the talking stuff, and I done. It's like, Sal, you okay? And he says, yeah. And he had the thick Italian accent. I thought I go from here 6 feet under. I don't want to leave and all these things. He wasn't that old either. I said, Sal, I'm not gonna do anything unless you're happy. I mean, come on. He goes, no, whatever she likes, she wants, she does it. Went through all these things. We helped them declutter, do all the things, and we put it in. They move into, I remember exactly, 4900 Glen Erin Drive. It's Glen Erin and Eglinton, Credit Valley area. 6 months later, I went to a condo. I went with buyer to show a condo in that building, and I saw Sal is coming from the back, towel around his neck, happy, and looks like he's in Hawaii. I swear to God, I'm not kidding. Come say hi, Brian. How are you? And all this. I say, yeah, good. How's everything going? Oh, fantastic. I say, you missed the house? What house? Like, I love it here. I lock the door. I go Italy 3 months, come back. Nobody. I don't have to ask my son to come and take a look at it. It was so funny. When he left, my client said, "Did you stage this?" I said, "Swear to God, like from here down, complete opposite." So this life-changing stuff is quite often totally different. I mean, depends on what. And he did not even expect that. But oh my God, he's like a happiest guy. He looked like Rocky with that towel. So, yeah, what does really mean? It could mean different to every one of you, depending on what you wish to have, what you like to do. Quite often, you even get to do things that you desired to do, but because of the family and kids and life got busy, you couldn't do it. It's time to do it. Check the bucket list and fill it up. All right. So that was the number one thing. Downsizing doesn't mean downgrading. You may not need that much of a room, but life could be really upgraded. You wanted to travel, whatever you wanted to do, go with that. So downsizing often means upgrading lifestyle, more travel. Who likes to travel more? There you go. So you find something that's less maintenance, not my maintenance, I mean not fee, but just you can lock the door, turnkey, go anywhere you like. Or moving closer to children and grandchildren. A lot of people moving to Alberta lately. I noticed a lot of young people going there, and like a few people that are actually going to Alberta within next year or so. And that's another thing. The other thing that I had in past 5 6 years, and I have some witness here that can come with, people are helping their children with the equity in their home to buy something, because it's almost becoming impossible to save $100,000 $200,000 to buy, and a lot of people helping them, and it's a good thing too. So they're all working. Am I like rushing me through?
Yes.
Or yeah? Come on, I gotta connect. Hold on, just take it easy.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Just put the timer here, and I'll check and I adjust myself. Okay, can I have this now? That's just. Thank you. All right. So no, I want you to like this part of it is the most important part. People have to just connect with that. She wanted to go to bungalow. Some people don't want to go to bungalow. They want to go somewhere they have more security, right? So when you go to a condo apartment, you have the security downstairs, and if you don't like anybody coming in, you tell them to get rid of them. They throw it away. so, so it's just that comfort is really good to have. Now, the other thing is, when is the best time to downsize? We've had people from late 40s, they start downsizing, all the way higher. And the late 40s were like couples who got married really early in life. The kids were just grown up and they start going. And they weren't thinking of downsizing, they were just thinking of multiplying. So they sold that and then bought two more and kind of rent one and keep one and turn the other one to a duplex, since Mississauga is now allowing you to have legal basement. Most of you probably know. So they turn it into a really rental income, which Sherry's going to tell you how to save taxes when you buy something like that, right? No, that tax is important. So that's another thing. So there is no set time. It's when you are ready. That your inner voice will tell you, hey, we are ready. And that's when things come in. And usually it's not, the husband and wife may not completely be on the same page like Sal and Lucy, but they will get on the same page. Anybody has any feeling about when they think they should be downsizing? Naya, when are you planning to downsize? not anytime soon. Okay, all right. So that comes to you. Like one day you will just feel it that, hey, you know what? This is what happens. Right one?
Just click the button, like, yeah, there you go. Clicker. No, it's not working for you.
No.
You need to get it faster.
Just no. Okay.
There we go. Very precious.
Click.
Oh, there we go.
Harder with it.
Yeah. So
exactly.
I went through some of this already because
Yeah.
I kind of ran this to my head. Then I put this down. There's no specific age. When your home is too big or you don't want to do much work around the house, or you enjoy traveling more than working around the house, and all that stuff, or you need securities and things like that. You can go ahead. The $1 million question is, where would you go next? Right? That's one of the things Danny mentioned, that these little homes are now so expensive, you may not cash enough in your pocket. And then some people want to go to bungalow because you still want to have your independence, little backyard. And some people will go straight into apartment buildings because they just want to feel comfortable. They get one of these units at the Park Street right here, that elevator opens to your door. You only have one car, one neighbors, and so on. But that is also back into, you got to sit down and define for yourself what's important to you. It's no one size fit all. It's just that, and that's where we come. Like we had another client recently moved from here to Burlington, and she had lived in her house for 30 some odd years, really long time, emotionally really connected with the home. She still calls this her home, right? But after she went through sort of looking at all different options, she decided to get a main floor unit in a condo building because she had a dog. She wanted to be like a townhome, but not a townhome, like a bungalow townhome. and have that little area so the doggy can go out. She was over 80s, and so she was supposed to come here. She just couldn't come. So I was going to stage that one for you. So, so you see. But it really depends on what we normally do is we sit down and listen to what's important to you. What do you really want to do? Do you enjoy the backyard and outdoor? Or do you travel a lot more and what have you? And then we just mash that up together.
I think you covered me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really dig deep, and that's where we come to really find out what is important to you. And where to start? Well, start preparing early. Prep is this for people who have been in their home more than 20 years. That's it?
Yeah.
Nobody else? How long have you been in your home?
This new one?
Yeah, 7 years. You guys, I know you're new.
Yeah.
Very well, no? Well, Danny, you must have.
We moved eight, 9 years ago from a home for 30 plus years.
Oh, that's.
And we built a home here. So we kind of bought 10 years before and rented it out.
Right. So you must remember.
The place we want to live till we bought some walkers.
Okay.
I think we're thinking there's another stage.
Yeah, so many stages.
We built to live on one floor, but the two, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's funny when you get older.
You know what's popular nowadays? They call it a bungalow loft. So you have a main floor master, and then you have the other ones upstairs. So when kids are not home, you live on the main floor. Upstairs is completely up. And then when kids are home or somebody will come and stay, you have those ones upstairs. And like Roxana said, it would be pretty. It was a little bit, how would I say it, depressing when you get off and you see empty
rooms.
rooms for the kids.
At least they're upstairs,
You don't see it anymore, right? If it's upstairs, at least you don't wake up to it. You know it's there, but you just don't see it. So it gets that too. That's another option. This is very popular now. Even for our own home, we are thinking of doing bungalow loft as well because that's just very popular. But that's where the real you have to decide on what's important for you and what not. And that's where we can go, Roxana. I'm zipping through because a lot of this is just common sense. And the decluttering, cleaning, and getting rid of the stuff is the biggest part. How many of you remember Seinfeld? Come on, show your age. I know nobody want to show their age. Yeah. I remember what he was saying is like the longer you live in a house, these walls will start getting closer to each other because you keep gathering stuff and you don't get rid of them. And that's when you want to do this. And a lot of time people will look at that and it's like, oh my God, that's like scary. That's why a lot of time they back right out of it. Once they see the amount of work. That's why we recently started, Roxana, this professional. Yes, the Sapphire home, because we record, like, even for Jane, our friend who was living here, it was her nightmare because it was 30 some odd years of collecting things, almost like nothing was out of that house. How many bins and how many bins of donations and all this thing. Still, she had too much when she took it there. Just recently, she rented another storage and put some stuff in there. So it just happened. And that's where we come in. We can really help. And we are, this services that Roxana is providing, it's actually really good. It could go from as little as moving a few furnitures to give us the key, tag in what you want and what you don't want, and we get rid of the whole thing for you. And we just finish the whole thing. So it could be full service to little service, cleanings and all this. And you just get a call from lawyers, come and cash out your check, and you call them and do it. Yeah, real life examples. That was a couple of them you covered. I have another one for you.
Okay, make it quick.
Rita, and you're like sticking in my back. Come on, relax. I would be very lucky if I live 100. We had another clients, Arun and Rita Chakravarti. Their son is the doctors. They called me, and Arun was not able to walk very well because he was getting old and he had some issues with his leg. We sold their home and they moved down to Parkland area, close to their son. About a year later, I was in an open house in that area. I see they're showing up. Hey, how are you? What's going on? He goes, nothing. We are actually looking for a home to come back. So I was interested in saying, okay, what happened? What really did happen, right? And sometimes people don't realize some things in theory works, but in practice didn't work for them. They had this beautiful unit that was almost going in a panoramic view of the lake, a big, really condo, over $2,000 maintenance fee, but it was very nice and good. But the view of a lake could become quite boring after a while. If you're going to a cottage for 1 week is good, 2 weeks is good, then it becomes normal. But then you realize all the friends are here, all the doctors are here. So that's another thing. You got to know where your things that you used monthly or quarterly, especially you're older, you need all those things around you. And then they found something really nice back then. Lucky them, there was a house on Bell Harbor that got caught on fire. Now you may remember that. I bought one of those ones that was rebuilt for him, right? And it was brand new in an older area, but it was brand new because it caught on fire. It completely burned down. It was rebuilt. So it was like a high ceiling and so on. So that's another thing. So when you are doing those, to my opinion, like when they already bought that home when they came to me, had I seen that, I would have probably tell them, look, be realistic. What are the things you need? Don't fall in love with the view. Be practical. Practicality is really, really important. It looks like I'm kicked out. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
So, no question? No
At
question?
the end,
At the end? They may not remember. Yeah, Tony has a question. Hold on.
First slide.
Downsize often means.
Okay.
Yes.
Because as soon as I go home and
Here.
my wife's going to put me through a test.
What's that?
I feel the test.
We will help you, Tony.
Oh,
We will send you
I'll
this.
send you this slide.
We can send you the. They can
Yes,
take a
yes,
picture.
sure.
Do you want me to? Do you want me to in the picture or not? I mean, want me to after picture?
All right, good. Thank you. Yes, good.
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much.
Oh, you need something with Zani?
No, I was saying I was trying to take pictures of certain things.
Okay.
By the time I put my hand there, lovely wife.
I'll
See?
send you the presentation.
Send you the full presentation. Okay.
I like some of the comments.
Oh, yes. Oh, you want to comment on something? What do you want to comment on?
No, it's just in general, so I can be.
Oh, yes. What do you want me to
Look at
go
all
back
the
to
stuff
then?
that you said by looking at the presentation.
Right.
I like what you put together.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Compliment.
I will
Oh,
send
thank
it
you.
to
Thank you, Danny. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. So tonight presenters, we have Manzar, Sharifi, as I mentioned, and Sam Azizi, her associate. I know it's a little bit challenging there. Thank you very much. And also next is Cherry Chan. And then we also have Nayab here, and she is the mortgage broker now. And she's here to answer any questions you have about mortgages. It's for my camera to record. You can hear me, right? I'm loud enough. Okay, so a little bit about Manzar Sharifi, investment and wealth advisor at RBC Dominion Securities with a financial industry career spanning 3 decades. Manzar is dedicated to helping clients build and protect their wealth with a comprehensive range of services, drawing on her wealth management and financial planning expertise. Manzar guides clients through all stages of their financial journey with a strong focus on intergenerational wealth transfer, women and wealth, and philanthropic services. Throughout her career, including her most recent role as a senior financial planner at a leading financial institution, Manzar has helped clients move toward their goals, prepare their legacy, and navigate market fluctuations with confidence. Please help me welcome Manzar and Sam to the mic. And let me do this for you. She started when she was 2.
I always say we like wine. We just get better as we get older.
That's right. That's right. Here.
Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to be speaking to a wonderful group of people. Thank you, Roxana and Brian, to initially organizing it. And to my right and left hand, Sam. As Brian was mentioning and talking, I was thinking of I have a 9-year-old son, and he keeps me young and he keeps me going. And before him, we were moving, downsizing, upsizing, middle sizing, and the best part of it was getting rid of the clutter. Yeah. I hardly had anything. So over the weekend, I told my husband, I said, honey, I think we should be moving. He said, but I thought you said you love this house. It's back to the woods. It's a bungalow. It's good. I said, yeah, but it gives me an excuse to declutter. So I need your help.
Yes, for sure.
So as Brian was mentioning, the exciting part of downsizing is coming to the next stage of life, basically seeing what you want to do. As Sam mentioned it, when you downsize, hopefully you have some money left to do things that you haven't done in your life or wanted to do in that stage of life. So the best part of the life is hopefully kids are gone, not coming back. And you wanted to check your bucket list, whether it is traveling, whether it is leaving a legacy, doing volunteer work. So I'm sure you all have wish list. Anybody want to share what is their best wish list that they've been hoping and waiting to do that when they downsize? Yellow Maserati, Lamborghini, yellow Lamborghini. And I said, I might be with the walker. Can I get into your yellow Maserati or Lamborghini? So basically, that's what it comes to. I come to the picture of helping with wealth, helping clients customize it based on their wish list. And I always say, when my son asked me, Mom, what do you do at the bank at RBC? I said, I am the second important job after doctors, because most important, health, I hope, for people. For some people, even money is number one important. So as much as we all enjoy having a financial security, financial independency, but I think looking after the money is a very dry subject, very boring subject. Who does look after their own money? Do you think it's fun to look at all the charts and numbers and graphs and everything? Client tell me, just show me the bottom line, how much I made or how much so that's where I come to the picture, and that's what we do, helping clients when they are investing and they're enjoying their time in a Caribbean or doing what they like, so we can help them. I always say, number one, after you downsize, pay your debts. That's number one, pay your debts. It's all or none, as Shakespeare was saying, right? Good debts, bad debts. Does anybody know why they say good debts, bad debts? Yes. We all have that at home, right? Exactly. Do you really like to carry a plus 20% interest rate on your credit card? No. So example of bad debts, credit card debts, loans, payday loans that I hope, I see the store's never been there, thanks God, and I hope nobody ever goes there. Loan for depreciating asset, car loans, interest rate high loans, non-essential expenses, people travel or lend money and use their credit card to buy non-essential, right? Sometimes when you can. But then do you really want to pay that much of interest? And I always tell clients, when you have that expense, if the interest rate is X dollar amount, gross it up. Think how much money you have to make, bring home net, and then that would be your expense. So that's even make it more ouch, hurting, right? Is much more expensive. So get rid of the bad debts, get rid of the debts when that's the first thing you do after you downsize. Debt consolidation loan. But then there are some good debts, right? Can we buy a, when you start, buy a 500,000? I don't think nowadays we can even find a little tiny place, but it's hard to have that much of an assets to buy a property cash. So you have to get a mortgage, and thanks to being in a real estate in Canada, over time you pay down your mortgage, real estate value goes up, your 500 property you bought 20 years ago, now it's worth 1.5 million, for example, and then you pay off your mortgage. So that's a good debt. Or you have a real estate rental property, has a mortgage. You don't want to pay that interest rate off, because the income you're earning from your rental property, you having them as an income, it can write off as an expense toward the mortgage or a line of credit you have. So that is a good debt. Or a student loan, because they can write off the interest on the student loan portion. Business expenses, investment. We have cases that client is a very, very high interest, high tax bracket. It makes sense to borrow, use bank's money, invest, and then write off the interest of those loans. Not last couple of years when the interest rate of the prime is so high. That is more when the interest rate is low, the investment makes more sense. So there's that extra gain. So these could be good debts. Now, when you paid your debt, what is next? So when clients are sold their property or downsizing, as Brian said, is not one size fit all. It's customized to every individual. It depends on the cash flow, depends on the lifestyle. Are you going to a fancy golf courses every 3 months? What's the budget you need to spend your lifestyle on your monthly expenses? Where it depends where you're moving to. Are you moving to a rental property? I had cases, clients sold, moving to a rental property, close the door, traveling every month. They don't want to have a house to look after. So customizing that. How much do you want to spend? And I had a case, client called me last week, Manzar, I want to see you. I'm ready to sell the house, move to a condo. Are you going to show me something about the investment? I said, I'm going to give you a homework. Sit down with Joe and tell me what are your wish list, right? Because your wish may be different than your wish and what you want to do. When I went over to the kitchen and sitting at the table and talking about what they're going to do after they sell, what they want to do with the money, he was very grumpy and he just left the room to get some paper. And I said, I think Joe is not happy to be moving. She said, of course not. I'm moving him to the condo. 2 years down the road, I'm going to go to a retirement home because she's with a walker. She needs 24/7 care eventually. And he can stay in the condo and look after himself. He's more physically fit. So you have to basically see what is the goal, what do you like. And as Brian said, it's not a negative change. The more you prepare, the more you plan, it will be easier to enjoy things you wanted to do. You might want to just do leave a legacy to your family. Or you have grown up kids that nowadays they can't have their own place. So you say, I was told that we can live here forever. And we can we can take it with us, right? So sometimes we say, okay, instead of after I'm gone, I want to give a little bit so they can pay down their mortgage or use it as a down payment of their home. Maybe that's what they wanted to do. Help their family, support their family. Live a dream life. Go to that beautiful beach and enjoy it, right? If that's what you want. And charitable donations. Some people like to donate to their favorite charity. Leave a legacy. And then here is where we can support and help you customize it. How much cash flow you need. What type of investment we got to invest it into based on your need. So your need could be different than Dan's need. So everybody's lifestyle is different. Some people they spend much less money when they travel, when they retire or they downsize. From 2 cars, they go to 1 car, or they don't travel as much. So everybody's cash flow is different. Some people, they spend more. Have a case, clients say, I don't want to leave a penny to my kids. They all have amazing jobs. They have good money. They make good money. I want to enjoy every penny, travel, live in a rental, close the door when I'm gone. Nobody worry about looking after the place. So okay, okay. Sure. So how much risk can you tolerate? Can you sleep at night? Are you going to be worried about? Or are you going to say, you look after it, let me enjoy what I want to enjoy in my life? Some people, they wanted to be involved into where we invest the money. For example, in a renewable energy, artificial intelligence. Some clients don't want to be investing in companies that are involving gambling, alcohol, tobacco. So we can customize it in that. And we look at, okay, what's your time horizon? So basically, we like custom made investment portfolio based on client's need in different areas, in different risk tolerance. Um, it's like when you go to a doctor, if the doctor writes you a prescription before even checking you, is that a good doctor? So there's a lot of analysis, a lot of checking, and then we customize based on your need, based on your wish list, based on your risk, based on how can you sleep at night. I always say 2 things. Do you need this money? When do you need it? Can you sleep at night? And then we can build it. And it comes into different areas. As I said, as much as we all enjoy having the money and the security and the fun of owning the independency, it's boring, but we look after it. It comes in different asset classes. You might hear fixed income. What is fixed income? Bonds, GICs, investment in the structure notes. Equities goes into stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, and then people say, oh, I don't want to be investing in this because this mutual fund is risky. And then when you deep down and say, these are the companies inside the basket, these are the companies you using it on a daily basis. Oh yeah, I like this company. Yeah, I buy this, or I I order through Amazon. I go to Walmart or Home Depot. So that's where it categorizes under individual equities. Alternative investments such as real estate, private equity, commodities. So those categorizes. Then we talk about different classes. Roxana is looking at me, so I'm racing it to that page. You want to take a picture? Or maybe I can ask Roxana to take one. Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I just want to make sure if you are taking any pictures. Okay. Now, the categories of investments. We have the assets, you downsize, you come and we sit down, we customize it. different buckets of accounts. You might hear tax-free savings. Um, if people are still working, they have room for contributing into an RSP, so it can reduce their taxes. It can defer taxes, so that falls under RSPs. There are registered saving plans that people do for their kids or grandkids, or now the new one, as it came as of 2023, first home saving plan, which is a great help for the people starting as their first time home buyers. And then on the non-register would be your regular investment account, non-register. And then there is an account that a lot of people never heard about it. It's called Joint with Gift of Beneficial Right of Survivorship. It's an amazing account and is only offered on the street at RBC Dominion Security. So what it is that I open an account, for example, I don't have a partner. I'm talking about 50 years from now. I told my son I'm going to make it to 100. And then I open it as a main account holder. My son will be the beneficial right of survivorship. So his name is not on the statement. He doesn't get a tax implication on the account. He does not have the right to call the advisor and say, buy this, withdraw this, or sell this. He comes to life only when I pass away. So what is the saving on that? You're saving a probate fee. So it doesn't pass through the probate fee. I'll leave it at that because I don't want to take too much of the time, but it's an amazing account. Exactly. So as I said, we basically prepare tailored portfolio. Portfolio is a portfolio because one size doesn't fit all. It's based on individual because there are so many different factors. It's like you're making a dress, or I love cooking, so you're making a food part of chili. There's so many ingredients goes into it that has to be added at the right time and in order to make a good result based on every individual case. With that, if your investment is not meeting the inflation, if it's not growing, so we're shrinking because your investment has to always be over the inflation, especially in our lifetime. I think in the last 40 years, the last 2 years were one of the highest inflation rate in Canada. So I was reading this quote not so long ago, last week, and it says, did you know that 2/3 of Canadian wealth is held in non-registered accounts? That's a huge amount of assets. So not RSP, not tax-free in other those accounts. And what do people do with non-registered assets? They pay tax. Who loves paying tax here?
It's a rich man's problem.
It is a good problem, right? When a client calls me, goes, my old age securities clawed back, so it's a good problem because you have good enough pension. But there are so many ways when it comes to investment that we can tailor to reduce taxes, to defer taxes, to reduce taxes, because there are different type of investment have different tax treatment, which Cherry will take that piece of the explanation and presentation, because I'm sure we all would love to pay less. If we can pay no tax at all, but in Canada, we're fortunate to be here to have a socialized lifestyle, which comes from taxes. But we will show you how to minimize taxes, how is treated differently between interest income, dividend income, and capital gain, which Cherry can go into more detail on that. It was Roxana's fault if I erased a little bit. I apologize. I don't know if there's any question or we leave it to the end.
Is there any question now you want to ask before we get off the topic?
Unless you're gonna.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So,
Yes.
You know, I've got a bucket list of things I want to do. I want to travel. I want to do all these different things. What keeps me up at night is I don't know how long I'm going to live. So,
How fast do you spend that money?
how fast can I spend? Not how fast can you spend the money, but people are living longer nowadays. So, is that something that you, I guess, would automatically factor in?
So it's a good question, and it's a question that always comes, and we customize it. When I told Mary when she called me, I said, I need you to do your homework, make me your wish list. I also ask about and I hope everybody live a long, healthy life. But one of the questions I ask clients are how long your parents lived, right? It genetically it makes how long your parents lived and how are the health conditions. So cases, client downsized, went to St. Catherine, and he goes, I'm a heavy smoker. I may not live 10 more years longer. So I want to enjoy my life for the next 10 years, right? And I hope he does, but that's a question. So we customize it based on that. Our planning GPS, which is the like a roadmap. I'm like your navigator, and I'm not there just to put you in and buy. We basically go through different stages, and we navigate it because things change as we get older, right? When we downsize, or you first 10 years you may travel, and then we slow down or do different things. But we defaulted to it used to be 90, the roadmap. Now it's changed to 95, our planning platform. But I asked client, I have a 94-year-old client. God bless him. Still sharp. So I did his roadmap to 110. Right? So, and you always think you're going to enjoy, you're going to live long. Yes. I hope that answered your question.
Slower, Melinda. Slower.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's give them a hand. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So next we have Cherry Chan. So Cherry, she's a CPA and a CA, real estate tax expert, real estate tax tips. I suggest you follow at the end. She and these paper as well. She has her Instagram and YouTube account. She makes wonderful educational videos. Awesome. Cherry Chan is not only an experienced real estate tax professional, but also a seasoned real estate investor, author, bestseller author, blogger, and a sought after public speaker with a passion for helping individuals and businesses navigate the complex world of real estate taxation. She graduated on the honor roll for accountants, the top 50 in all Canada in her graduating year. Wow, amazing. And was named top 50 women in accounting globally in 2018. With a wealth of knowledge and expertise, Cherry specializes in providing tailored tax strategies to maximize savings with minimize liabilities for clients in the real estate industry. Cherry's commitment to client success, combined with her engaging and accessible approach, makes her a go-to resource for demystifying tax concepts and empowering individuals to make informed decisions in their real estate ventures. Help me please welcome Cherry to the mic. Cherry, do you have a place to put this?
I'm sure I can figure
You
something
can.
out.
You're a pro idea. Okay, there you go. And here's the clicker for you.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
So it should work. Hi everyone. I hope I am doing the presentation right because I assume that I'm seeing a group of individuals that are much older than you guys. So I did the presentation based on that. And if there are any questions, by all means come back and ask because we're a small group. We are very engaging. So by all means stop me and ask questions as you come along. And if there are questions that you want me to answer, and you don't see the answer from my presentation, please just ask at the end, because I'm more than happy to discuss whatever you want to the best of my knowledge, okay? Um, Today, our topic is retirement income taxation. I personally have never done the presentation on this particular topic, so we're learning, and I'm very grateful for the invitation today by Manzar, Roxana, and also Brian. But at the same time, I'm not as familiar in terms of what your needs are, so it's important for you guys to give me feedback so that I can improve on. So next time, we'll be having a more meaningful discussion as well. Okay.
Just a bracket here. I opened the parentheses here. So Sherry is a specialist in the investment, real estate investment, the rental properties, multi-unit investment. So she's that very specialist.
I do the tax structure for it. I don't help people do the investment. I can't do all that. Can only deal with the taxation side of things. If you need any real estate need, Brian is over there. Yes, yes, yes. I can only handle the tax side. I wrote a book a few years back, and it had become a bestseller. And I think it's due to be updated, this book, because it's back in 2017 when I wrote the book. As we all know, the government hates real estate investors. If it's not obvious enough, I wanted to make it clear that the government hates it. And so we have so many changes over the last, 7 years. And I mean, we're still experiencing that change right now. It's not fun. And there are times and moments that I think that I don't want to be an accountant because the government's crazy. It's just that every single year there's something that come up and then something that they canceled. Yeah. So a little bit disclaimer to start off. I love to start off with disclaimer, just like any lawyer would. We're not responsible for anything we say here. Okay. We'll present the tax implication, but just like your financial planning, the downsizing consultation, everything is individualized. So if I don't know your situation, I can only present the information for general purpose only. So make sure that you consult with an accountant, professional accountant who knows your situation well enough. And as always, if you don't work with someone and you feel more comfortable working with another person, we're always here. So I wanted to start off with something really, really basic first. This is a chart that I didn't create. Someone, taxtips.ca is not my website, but they do a lot of good work showing the tax calculation table. And I wanted to share with you how our personal tax actually works in Canada. A lot of us don't understand that. And essentially, to sum it all up, it's the more money that you make, the more tax that you would have to pay. Now, what does that really mean? Our system is a progressive tax system. There are some tax system in the world, they are flat rate tax system. So no matter how much money you make, you're still only paying 15%. So I was originally, even before I started making money, I was originally from Hong Kong, and the tax rate was always 15% flat rate. And you get credit. So you make $1 million, you pay 15%. You make 5 million, you still make that pay that 15% tax. But in Canada, that's not the case. Now, let me explain. So in front of you is here, I don't know if I can see. So right here, basically, they divide our income. The Income Tax Act divide our income into different tax brackets. So for the first, I think, about $15,000, you don't pay tax. That's called personal tax exemption. They think that you just need that $15,000 to live off, so we're not going to tax you. But then between the $15,000 and $51,000, that delta, so you take $51,000 minus the personal tax exemption, that delta is subject to 20% tax. Okay? You take the delta, I'll show you the calculation in later subsequent slide. And then the next tax bracket is 51,000 to 56,000. So that delta is subject to 24% tax. Now, so on and so forth. Essentially, for someone that makes about $150,000 annually, you have to go through every single tax bracket calculation, multiply by the corresponding tax rate, marginal tax rate. This is called marginal tax rate. And then you sum it all up. And then that's how you know how much tax you would have to pay. Now, what's bothering, what's really upsetting is that, like, for example, if you're making $150,000, your highest marginal tax rate is 43%. It doesn't mean 43% apply to the entire 150,000. It's because different tax rate is being applied to different tax bracket. But if you make, like, let's say an additional $20,000, that $20,000 falls under this tax bracket, right? You can see that $20,000 is subject to 45%. This is very demotivating for people because, hey, like, I'm only going to keep 55%, maybe slightly more than half. What's the point for me to work harder, right? So for anyone who is in the position, who are lucky enough, if you can see in the bottom, who are lucky enough, if you make $245,000 to begin with, okay, at the bottom, you can see anything above and beyond that $247,000, anything, if you make a bonus of $10,000, the government gets to keep 53%, 54%. The government keeps more than you do. So what's the motivation for people to work harder and get better at what they do? Because the government gets to keep a bigger cut than what you get to do. Now, having said all that, I mean, making more money is still better and you're still getting more ahead, but it's just the way that our system is designed is this way. Now, the second thing that I wasn't planning to mention, but I do want to mention here, given the I sense that everyone has a really solid understanding of tax, and is that was the bad news. The good news is that everyone is entitled to this set of low marginal tax rate every single year. So does that make sense? So you get to enjoy that this year. If this year you decide, hey, I'm taking a sabbatical, I'm not making any money, you can choose to draw out some of your RSP. Because that RSP up to $51,000, you're only paying 20% tax. But normally, with your job income, you may be paying 45%. But this year, you're not making income. You may consider taking more money out to pay the less marginal tax rate. So you can split income with your own self by playing around with your RSP. Does that make sense? Now, another option is that, hey, if you have a spouse, which if you are talking to people who are retiring and they are receiving pension income, and that spouse is not making as much money as you, there is that pension income split that you would be eligible for. So just don't forget about splitting that income, because your spouse get to have low marginal tax rate as well. So you can do the calculation every year and make sure that you as a family, as a unit of family unit, you would be able to pay less amount of tax. Does that make sense? Okay, like obviously for those of you who are self-employed and you have the ability, you still earn business income, you have the ability to maybe pay your kids if they are not in a position to not make as much money. There are ways to play around with this whole marginal tax rate system. A lot of the tax strategies that people tell you today is designed around splitting multiply as many set of marginal tax rate as possible. So does that make sense? Okay. Now, typically we have 5 types of income. The first one I consider ordinary income. Basically, it is a catch-all income. If it doesn't fall under whatever that's below, then it's ordinary income. I'll explain why it is important. Now, then we have capital gain, we have eligible dividend, we have non-eligible dividend, and then we have non-taxable income altogether. So we'll talk a little bit about every single type of income and how it's being taxed, and so then you can get a better understanding. And so we can plan better with Manzar in terms of like what type of investment you can buy, you can earn, and to achieve that lifestyle that you want. Now, ordinary income, as an example, this is not comprehensive list, but these are the most common income. OH security that you get, it is ordinary income. CPP that you get is ordinary income. RSP withdrawal amount, RIF withdrawal amount, they are also ordinary income. Employment income, net rental income, interest income, and net business income. They're all considered ordinary regular income. Now, ordinary income, what does that mean? It's being taxed as like under this column. It's taxed as regular income, dollar for dollar. What I mean is that if you earn $10,000 interest income, this tax rate applied directly to that $10,000 interest income, directly. And basically, they sum up all the ordinary income together and basically charge you based on this tax rate. So essentially, it's the most expensive form of income that you will be getting in terms of tax. Now, how do you calculate it? I promised you to show you a little bit of the formula. Essentially, you go through the calculation tax bracket, calculate the delta. If you earn $150,000, this is based on 2023 Ontario marginal tax rate. Then you will be owing roughly about $44,000 of tax. There are tax credit and all these other things that's individualized, and we could reduce the amount of taxes that you would pay. But if you earn $150,000 of combined OH security, interest income, CPP, RSP, then you'll pay about $43,000 of tax. If you take 150 minus 43, you don't actually net 150 because now you're netting $107,000. Does that make sense? Okay. I know. I'm sorry. I keep apologizing every time I present because I'm presenting a really dry subject, right? And I'm always the bearer of the bad news. Okay, now let's talk about dividend income. And if you know, dividend income is generated usually from investing in a corporation. Okay, the way that corporation works is that the corporation is set up, and then if it use your money, essentially whoever invests in the business to earn income, and then the corporation is also required to pay tax, and they have their own tax filing obligation. They need to pay their tax, and if you are buying a publicly traded company shares, they are big company. So then they have the corporation structure. They file, TD Bank would file their tax. RBC, I guess I should use RBC as an example because we have RBC here. So RBC would file their own corporation tax return, pay the tax, and they say, hey, like we save this money aside for running the business, and we save this bucket aside for investment for future expansion or buy HSBC. Now they have extra money aside for return of investment to pay out the dividend return to their shareholder. But that is after they pay the tax within the corporation, the money is set aside. Now, our Income Tax Act is designed in a way that if you own a business in your personal name, directly in your personal name, you pay the same amount of tax as if you own the business in a corporation structure, pay the corporation tax and take everything out from the corporation and put it in your personal name. Extract everything as dividend income or salary, you pay more or less the same amount between the two options. This is the same when you invest in RBC stock. It's not perfect integration, but essentially it's designed in that way. So when you invest in RBC stock, RBC pay the tax, but it's already paid once. Remember, the tax was already paid once. Now, when you get the income, it's after corporate tax income. So what CRA does, they come up with a fancy calculation. They gross up the dividend that you have, so you have to pay more tax, but then they also give you a larger tax credit to offset against the tax that's already been paid by the corporation. And that's why, to avoid double taxation, yes.
So you said if you have a company under your name, it's the same tax bracket as if you have it in corporation?
No, the goal, the design of the system is with that in mind. So you're supposed to pay more or less the same amount of tax. I think using the scale is the best presentation. Personal tax plus corporation tax would equal more or less equal to the amount of tax, personal tax that you would pay if you were to own the business as a sole proprietor. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's the same. But it's the same whether you are in a corporation or own it personally. As a sole proprietor, it's still business. You would still be able to write off the expenses on both in both structure. Exactly. If you are, there is benefit. But if that assumption, this whole tax integration thing is built under the assumption that you take all the money out from your corporation in the same year. Yes. Because you will end up paying the same amount of tax. But if you're leaving money in the corporation, which is a lot of small business owners would do, I do the same thing. I leave as much money as possible in the corporation because the corporation tax is only 12.2%. Versus what you saw here earlier, you look at all these tax rate. What is 12.2%? The first, I don't know, $50,000, and it's subject to 20%, right? So you want to minimize the amounts of money that you need to draw out from your corporation. That's usually how the tax planning works. Defer as much as possible and use the personal tax money that you didn't need to pay and invest for yourself. Invest within the corporation structure to buy more investment through Manzar, through rental properties, and through Brian. So these are all the options available, and that's why small business is getting scrutinized and being targeted by Justin Trudeau, our friend, or our enemy, sorry. Okay. Are we all good with tax integration? Okay. Now, so for big company, when you invest with RBC, they pay bigger rates because they are a big company. So they have larger income, and therefore publicly traded stock, they're usually taxed, the corporation itself is being taxed at a higher tax rate. So they pay higher amount of tax. And therefore, when the money is distributed to the investor, the shareholder, you get a bigger tax credit. Does that make sense? So you pay less tax when you invest in publicly traded stock. But if you invest in a privately owned company, the private company, like I mentioned, they pay 12.2% in Ontario. So the tax rate is lower, and therefore the tax credit that you get back is also smaller. So you pay more tax, personal tax, for private company dividend. This is all generalized, obviously, but that's generally how it works. Those are two examples. Now, so there are private companies that are bigger. Anything over the net after deducting all expenses, anything over $500,000 net income would be subject to the higher tax rate, and they would still be considered the eligible dividend when you draw money out from those company. So then the money that you draw out would be taxed at a lower rate because the corporation already pay a higher amount of tax. Yeah, you can draw it as dividend or salary. Typically, people draw it as dividend, depending on your need. Eligible, I can't explain why the income tax. No, they are both eligible. No, the yeah, it's just different levels. Yes, they are all eligible. No. Yeah. I can't explain the weird things that our cabinet do, but that's how they name it. I mean, every time I talk about eligible versus non-eligible, I have to look it up to make sure non-eligible is really non-eligible. Why is it not ineligible? Why is it not something else? It's hard to, there's also something called save income that we track, but why is it save income? Anyway, so it's hard to understand, but you can see using the 2024 rate, remember, eligible income means that you pay, the income has been subject to a higher corporate tax rate. So for the first $51,000 of eligible income that you receive from publicly traded stock, chances are you don't have to pay any tax. You could receive $50,000 of dividend income from publicly traded stock, assuming you have no other income, okay, you can get $50,000 tax free, which is pretty cool because the $50,000 has already been taxed once. And when it comes to you, you don't have to pay the tax again. Like if you have you and your spouse or significant other each receiving that $50,000, you guys combined have $100,000 of tax-free income. That's pretty good life to live off, assuming your no debt and all that. Only assuming you have. There's a lot of assumption, but generally speaking, that's how it works. Yeah, exactly. You may have OH security, may have some CPP, but still some amount of tax. Yep, Tony.
With regard to the Canadian dividends,
Yes.
is that income usable? Is it eligible for RSP contribution or spousal contribution? Is it a passive income or non-income?
I think dividend income is not eligible to qualify you to contribute more to your RSP.
Consider that you do have contribution room in your RSP.
Yes.
And 1 year I got $50,000
Yeah.
either eligible or non-eligible.
Yeah.
Dividends.
Yeah.
Then can I use some of that towards my RSP contribution or my spousal contribution?
Now, so two questions, okay? The question is, my understanding of your question is, can you use some of the money that you receive from dividend income to contribute to your RSP? The answer is you can always do that, provided that you have RSP contribution room available. Now, the second part of the clarification that I want to make sure everyone understand is that dividend income does not create RSP contribution room. So that is the difference, okay?
It's not considered employment income.
It's not considered.
18%.
It's not considered earned income. It's not employment income, but like I think rental income is considered earned income. Employment income, business income, they're all considered earned income.
Whether it be eligible, whether it be from a small corporation,
yep,
or a larger corporation.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. Dividend income does not create. Yeah.
Either my spousal,
Yeah.
RSP if I'm over 71,
Yep.
or to my own if I do have
Yes.
contribution,
Yep.
or if my wife has contribution.
Yes.
Level.
Yes. 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 Rental income earned you RSP contribution room. Only the room. It creates bigger room. But these days, because I specialize working with real estate investors, I would say 90% of them actually lost money. So it doesn't really help. Yes, it's actually reducing the contribution room. Okay. Okay, so capital gain. So this is a hot topic. I created a short clip on Instagram. I got over 70,000 views. Half of the comments are like, "Oh, Cherry, I hear you. I hear you're paying. Thanks for standing up against the government." No, not tax. It's inclusion rate, which we will get into. The other half of the people are like you are so entitled. Wake up, look at the mirror. You're a rich bee. Whatever you can think of. Now, so what's capital gain? First of all, I wanted to mention that any time when you invest in something long term, generally speaking, it's called capital gain when you sell. The profit that you realize. So it could be stock investment. It could be private company shares that you do on your own through your financial advisor. It could be mutual fund units. It could be cryptocurrency investment, because we have some clients who specialize, like, love crypto investment. It could be gold, silver, the actual physical gold and silver. When you sell it and you realize profit, that would be considered capital gain. Sale of your cottage, sale of your long-term rental property, any other long-term investment, and personal use properties. Technically, if you have a car and you sell it for a higher price, you are supposed to report the delta as your capital gain as well. But if you have a loss in that personal use properties, I'm sorry, you can't deduct the loss. Yeah. You can't. Personal use properties, the loss doesn't work. The gain is taxable. Yeah.
Anybody can sell the car more than what they
Sorry? To, the expense related to the sale of the property. Yeah. Yes. But yes. Yes. So property outside of the country. I actually just had a YouTube interview someone who is a tax lawyer in the U.S. and believe it or not, our system is not the shittiest. I truly believe that the U.S. system is shittier. Now, the U.S. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know if anyone would be offended. Okay. So in Canada, as a Canadian tax resident, you are required to report income on your worldwide income. So wherever you are. So this means that if you sell a property in Dubai, and Dubai has no capital gain tax, you realize a profit in Canada, you have to report it on your Canadian tax return and pay the Canadian tax. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Well, they know the outlet. Now
Yep.
you can stop renting it now. But the history shows that you own the house. Well, I don't know.
Exactly. So there are people. Now it depends on which country as well. This is recorded. So as a chartered professional licensed accountant, I wanted to mention that you are always obligated to report everything, worldwide income. Now I've heard example that hey, people in China, it's an entrepreneur friend, and he was advised do not ever bring back the money. We don't know anything. Okay, but U.S. unfortunately they have an agreement, information exchange agreement with the Canadian government, CRA specifically. So basically, all developed countries would have that similar type of arrangement. And the funny part is, earlier this year I was speaking at an event in Costa Rica about taxation, and Costa Rica doesn't have a tax treaty with with Canadian government, but they have an information exchange agreement with the Canadian government. So, like, how do they find out? I don't know if they actively do. They may. But I mean, there are so many rumors between Chinese government and the Canadian governments. It's hard to believe that they're not talking, but that's what I was told. Yes.
Well, see, I was going to ask you some question about that. So, let's say we have a property with no mortgage,
Yep.
monthly expenses, whatever to run.
Yep.
We have a family that loves using it.
Yep.
And it's talk about legacy and all
Yep.
that stuff, leaving. And we want to leave it to our family. So, should we put this in some kind of a trust or something so that, you know what, here it is, you got 3 kids and 10 grandchildren.
Yep.
You want them to have, assuming that they want it,
Mm-hmm.
and move it over.
Yep.
So
Now,
there's no probate and all that stuff.
great question. So first of all, probate is only applicable to Ontario assets. Okay. Now, secondly, move it to a trust is a good idea, but when you have a cross-border type of scenario, it may be a little bit more complicated. Now, thirdly, when you are moving it from your personal name to the trust, there is a deemed disposition at fair market value. You're essentially selling it to the trust, so you actually pay the tax now. Now, okay, so let's say it's worth, say, $500,000 Canadian. Okay, you realize the gain, pay all the tax. Okay, you transfer it to the trust. Okay, now the trust owns it. Okay, it's personal use, it's fine. There's beneficiaries and everything set up. Now, the trust would have purchased the property at the fair market value that you dispose it at, so which is $500,000. Okay, Now, at the time when, like, say you guys pass away, the property is worth $900,000. That incremental is not taxed on your terminal return. The tax is only going to be realized when the trust distribute the when the beneficiary sells it. Okay.
But the trust never dies.
No, the trust, there is a 21-year rule that the trust would die. There is a way to roll it into a corporation and roll it into a second trust. So there is, by 21 year, you have to roll it and do a fancy things to work around it. 100%. Absolutely. It is an option, but it's also not, I wouldn't say it's not realistic. Some people do set up a trust and then continue to roll it, but then there is also the part that, hey, your kids may not get along, and it could be a source of conflict, like who should I use that, which week should I be using it, and I'm bringing who's paying for the cleaning fees and all that things, right? There's all these other topics. Yeah.
Sell everything and take it home.
Yeah. Yep. See, like, I wanted to say there is no probate, but my understanding is that joint ownership has probate, unless you are the other person is truly, because I was added to my mom's rental property, and I don't own it. I'm only on it because we're hoping to avoid probate. But my understanding, because I don't own it, I actually do have to pay probate. I don't own it because I don't own it. No, I'm on title, but I don't report any income or expenses. My mom owns that account. Yep. So the tax law, probate is a separate set of tax rule, okay? Just so we're clear. And it's only applicable for Ontario assets. So if you invest in Alberta, it's something different. I just haven't got the time to investigate Alberta per se. Now, but if my property is in Ontario, my understanding, first of all, is that any properties that you've owned before 2023 is not subject to probate. No, 2003. 2003 is not subject to probate. But you need it to be in a second will for it to be avoiding probate, okay? You need to have two wills. I'm going off topic here, but essentially we can take that offline and talk a little bit more about it. There's court case, essentially. 2 minutes? Oh, I thought you were going to tell me that 2 minutes is left. Sure.
There is no limit for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about this topic too, and I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
Is it okay time to take a quick break?
Okay.
Hot chicken.
Absolutely.
Some more food.
Yeah, food.
Get more food. Go back to your tables, and then we continue with that.
Yeah.
Is this good?
And then by then you will forget the tax questions.
Yes, by all means. Yeah.
So the reason why we need to single out capital gain is because the capital gain, the profit that's considered capital gain is not 100% taxable. So as of today, only 50% of what you make would be taxable if that income is called capital gain. So, just keep in mind, 100%, if it's ordinary income, it's 100% taxable. So if you make $100, the entire $100 is subject to tax. But if you make $100 capital gain, only $50 is subject to tax. So that's why it's important, and it's always advantageous to us. We are the taxpayer to call something as capital gain. But they have like 12 to 16 criteria to decide whether a transaction or the profit is considered capital gain or not. specifically, obviously, over the last couple of years, they paid real estate investors. So when they came up with the rule, if you own a property for less than 365 days and you sell it, they are 100% taxable. So they're income. They're not capital gain. Now, if you're in the business of flipping, they have 12 to 16 criteria that they look at to determine if you are in the business of flipping or not. So usually, this would be someone, a classic example is someone who buy and sell properties. They buy and sell the first one, they don't get caught, they report it as capital gain. It's the second one that they sell the year after. The CRA would take the second one and say that the first one is flipping. The second one is also flipping. So if you're one of, yes, frequency of transactions would matter. Your profession would matter. Those are one of some of the criteria they use to determine if a transaction is considered capital gain or income. Sorry, question.
No.
Oh, you're good? Okay.
But your own property is not taxed.
Your primary residence. As of right now, they're not taxed.
As of right now, what do you mean by that?
If Trudeau is elected,
Well, we don't know. I don't think they're going to touch it, but it's hard to tell what's in his mind.
They propose the capital gains tax to be increased to 67.5%.
Yes, we're going to go through the example. Now, so I'm going to do an example of how capital gain is being taxed. Let's say you sell something. It could be equity. It could be a house in Alberta or something. You sell that house for $210,000. I don't think you can find a house in Alberta for $210,000 anymore. Maybe it has to be Saskatchewan or like somewhere that you don't know the name. And you purchase it for $100,000. So you subtract the cost to sell, subtract the purchase price, and also subtract all the costs associated in buying the building. The profit from sale is $100,000 in my calculation. You can say that $100,000 purchase price is your stock. That's fine. You can substitute whatever you need to substitute in there. Calculation is pretty much the same. Now, if it's considered capital gain, the transaction, then only 50% is subject to tax, which means that $50,000 is added to income. And assuming you are at the highest marginal tax rate, which is roughly 50%, you pay $25,000 tax. Now, if you make that $100,000 as income, you pay $50,000 tax. You want it to be capital gain. Now, what's changed? This is the current way of doing things. Now, as we all know, our worst enemy, I say best friend, usually I say best friend. Yeah, JT. JT came out and say, hey, I don't really like investor at all. Be it real estate investor, stock investor, or anyone who makes money in the corporation. Or if you're a private equity firm just invest in Canadian businesses, we don't like you at all. So we're changing that 50% inclusion rate to 2/3. Now this is only for properties owned in the corporation start from gain zero. So if you earn $1, if you own the properties in the corporation, the first dollar that you make, the first dollar, 2/3 is included as your income. Okay? But if you own the property or the stock portfolio in your personal name, you still have the first $250,000 is still only subject to 50% inclusion rate. It's only anything above and beyond that 250 that will be subject to this additional 2/3 inclusion rate as of June 25th.
So the capital gain is over $250,000, then the delta is going to be...
Yeah, the delta. So if we use the same example, this person made the same $100,000, okay? Assume this person has already maxed out the 250, okay? We're talking about anything beyond 250. But if you are talking about properties inside the corporation, there's no 250 exemption, okay? So let's say this is $100,000 capital gain that you make, the profit that you make. Based on the new rule, 67% is the inclusion rate. Now $67,000 is added to income. Before it was 50,000, now it's 60,000. Now, using the same tax rate, 50%, now this person needs to pay $33,000 tax versus before $25,000. A delta of about $8,000. Yes.
So people who buy properties that were bought in companies,
Yes.
now they're going to stand to lose with this new regime.
Yes.
So people should go back and buy in their personal names.
Yes, absolutely. So the comment was, okay, if you buy properties, which I purchase properties in the corporation as well, we have lots of clients who purchase properties in the corporation as well. The biggest criticism of this whole new rule is that there is no more tax integration. Remember, we talked about tax integration. We are supposed to pay the same amount of tax. Now we're not. Okay? Now, what's noteworthy is that they're essentially penalizing people using corporation. But sometimes you really need that extra protection. If you own an apartment building of 6 blocks, like in a sketchy area in Hamilton, you don't really want to own it in your personal name. But because you own it in a corporation, now you have to pay more tax. Yeah.
So they want to solve the housing problem, but they're taxing people who are solving the housing problem, and they're also taxing people who are selling home lands for development, so they won't sell it anymore. How are they going to solve the housing
Well,
problem?
they have a solution. They're going to tax people, that's what they said. They're going to come up with a plan to tax people who own vacant land and not develop it. That's coming in Fall Economic Update 2024.
And after forcing them to sell it to the developers, and then now they're charging them more the capital gain as well. So, it's like,
So they have to make up all the money they get for free during the COVID, right?
Now, okay, so I want to mention though, sorry to interrupt you guys. I don't know if you guys pay attention to the news. Everything in the budget has been sent to the government, the layers of like whatever approval process, except this part. This was not what is included in the 600 pages of document that was submitted to as the notice of ways and motion to be passed into law. This wasn't part of it. Hasn't been part of it. Well, my I guess speculation to that is that this involve a law in the Income Tax Act. It touched everything in the Income Tax Act. They have no way to actually draft all the legislation, reference it to all these in such a short period of time. So this hasn't been passed in law yet. Okay?
Okay.
Now, there's speculation in the accounting industry, okay? So if JT is going down, he has to trigger this whole election by October of 2025. So an election has to happen. They self-impose a deadline of June 25th of this year, okay? But in the past, as of right now, there are still legislation that has not been passed that were proposed in 2022 budget, 2023 budget. They have not been passed into legislation yet, even now. So there is a chance that the legislation will not be passed before the next election happens. And if the legislation is not passed before the next legislation, and JT is gone for good, okay, and the next set is not Liberal, assuming, or the NDP, then chances are this legislation will never come into effect. Now, but you can't bank on that fact, right? You just have to, because there are so many criteria that has to happen. If JT is coming back, then for sure this is going to be low. Okay.
No, but there is also one more thing. I heard this is in the world of the street is that this is NDP's idea.
Yeah.
Because of the coalition. So he's dragging that. If he gets re-elected, he may, if he gets majority, he may drop this. That's what I was told. But
know.
if he does not get it, then he needs to do coalition again with NDP, and that's where the far east, far left part of it is coming to play.
So many speculation, like, so we know, I'm sure a lot of you would know, Underused Housing Tax Act, a couple, like last year, they just got dropped in the fall economic update in 2023. They canceled that whole thing for Canadian citizens, which should have never happened, but they canceled that. The trust reporting, they canceled it for 2023 as well, on the last business day before the deadline. So we were really upset, but there is a history of cancellation of the legislation as well. Now, so then the question is, what do you do now? Because you know there is a June 25th deadline. You also know that this may not come into effect. But what do you do now? So it is really hard to advise clients. Let's just face it. There is no legislation. So if you go to online search the budget, there's like a few paragraphs, and those are what we have. That's it. Like, you don't know what you can do and what you can't do. They did come out to say that if you crystallize the gain, meaning selling it, to realize the capital gain, if the transaction is really done just to crystallize the gain on the properties that you own in the corporation, they will not challenge you. Now, what does that mean? If you do anything under the law and you do it just to save taxes, and it's a series of transactions, CRA lose that fight in court, they can impose something called GAR, Generally Anti-Avoidance Rule. Essentially saying that, well, we can't win, so we're going to give us a trump card. You do it intentionally to cheat the system. I'm not going, like, you have to pay me back the money that I deserve. Your transaction is null and void. So what they really announced is that, hey, we expect you guys to do crystallization. We are not going to impose GAR on it. That's what they have said, okay? Now, but they also haven't released any legislation, so we don't really know what's allowed and what's not allowed, and that's where we are. So this is the last part. We also have non-taxable income. So non-taxable income, including money that you draw from your TFSA, GST tax credit, any government tax credit. There's one thing that I want to mention that is non-taxable is your return on investment on some of the publicly traded or privately traded portfolio, depending on how it's being set up. Manzar would be able to tell you on mutual fund trust, for example, they have a return on investment. You're getting the cash. You're not getting tax on it immediately. That return on investment is being used to reduce the purchase price. Remember, we do the calculation of capital gain here. That return on investment is going to be reducing this amount. So if you receive $10,000 tax-free immediately, it's supposed to go against this purchase price. And when you sell, instead of $100,000, it will be $90,000. But it gives you the benefit, tax benefit, essentially. There are limited partnership investment, type of investment, that they don't pay any tax, you pay your own tax rate. There is also real estate investment trust. Sometimes they depreciate the property and they avoid paying tax altogether. They have extra cash to pay you, and again, it's called return on investment. It's not called rental income per se. So those would be non-taxable immediately. There will be tax implication down the road. So I think that basically concludes all my presentation. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to sell myself. So if you want to know me, it's here. I'm on almost all social media, but I can't tolerate TikTok. I don't know if you guys want TikTok. I can't do it. So anything else? sales is good. Yes.
Capital gain, is there the lifetime maximum as well?
Yeah. So there is something called lifetime capital gain exemption. Right now it is about $1 million, slightly over $1 million. That's only applicable on qualified small business shares sale. Okay. Now, what's qualified small business share sale? It has to be private company, and 90% of the assets has to be used for the purpose of running the small business. And over the last 24 months, 50% or more of the assets have to be used in active business income. So that's the qualification criteria, and that's only when you sell that shares. Because when you sell a business, you can sell shares of the business or sell assets. Yeah. So it's only that would be applicable.
Does that impact your personal capital gains?
Absolutely. So that's why they have actually increased that lifetime capital gain exemption from 1 million to 1.25 now. Basically, if you're selling your business share, you want to sell it after closing, is after June 25th, because you immediately get a bump. But there is also a bunch of other stuff, because there is alternate minimum tax implication on other stuff as well. So it is individualized. Depending on the sale price, you have to run a scenario to get it, the full picture. I'm sorry. Fear of that news.
Thank you. So when are you going to update your book, the next one, when is it coming out?
I don't know yet. We're working on it. I wouldn't count on it. There are so many changes. Like the trust reporting was just canceled, right? Should I include it? Because it's only canceled for 2023, just so you know. You're supposed to do it for 2024 based on current legislation. But they can come out and say, hey, we don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. So, what can you include? Yeah.
Thank you so much.